June 24th, and I haven't fed a nuke in about 10 days. I think this is Monday. The last time I fed was Wednesday before last. So we were on a little bit of a flow last week, but I just got into the part of the season where I was a little run down and went to Cub Scout camp with my son and didn't sleep for 2 nights in a row because it was in the 90s and hard to go to sleep when you're sweating. So I just took it kind of easy last week. Bees are on a flow. My production colonies have got plenty of storage space. I know I don't need to super. Nukes didn't really have to be fed, so I didn't get as much done last week as I normally would, but I feel a little refreshed this week. Read a couple good books. So this week I'm going to get all of my nukes fed. There's some that I'm going to have to box. They'll be ready for new boxes. I do need to work a production yard or two, but it's mostly just feeding. And I do have a grocery order to get ready that's 40 cases. I've got to deliver that in a couple of days, so I've still got some of that to get done. I'm getting ready to go on vacation. My wife and I and the kids are getting a beach house with her parents in Myrtle Beach the week after the 4th. So I've got to have everything ship shape and ready to go before then. I do need to spray foam a new shipping container. Got to get that done so I can get an air conditioner in it and keep it from getting too hot so that I can store honey in there. And that will get me ready. That will give me enough storage that I can move stuff out of my honey house and get it ready to extract. And as soon as I get back from vacation, I'm gonna have to jump into extraction like almost immediately. I think the timing is gonna work out okay this year. It looks like shining sumac, also known as mountain sumac, dwarf sumac, shiny sumac, is gonna bloom maybe this week. If not, then it'll definitely be next week. And then that will be, a week and a half maybe of nectar flow, if we get any. And then I'll be ready to harvest. So I think it'll work out. We've been pretty dry recently and hot. It's been in the 90s, but we did get a really good rain last night, and we've got a chance the rest of the week. So hopefully we'll get some nectar flow off of this rain that we got. I'm really enjoying having the scale hives to tell me, you're not guessing anymore when you've got scale hives. You're not guessing if they're putting on weight or not. You know exactly what they're doing, down to the pound or 1/10 of a pound. I like that. First yard I've been to today, I just got done weed eating, my favorite chore ever. And there's just deliberate, consistent activity in this yard. You can feel the energy in the air. And I thought, and the bees were not bumping my veil and stuff. They didn't bother me at all while I was weed eating. And if they're in a dearth, they will try to eat you up. They don't like weed eating. So I thought, man, they're on a flow. First hive I've opened. I'm missing a honey crop here. They've got a full box of honey. They've done this in the last 10 days. So it looks like I'll be boxing some of these and hoping for some honey. I just learned something else about this yard. This is sourwood. Absolutely clear on the hive tool. It's got this warm, woodsy, almost vanilla type flavor. It's fantastic. And they have drawn out a box and filled it with sourwood. I did not know that it was going to be that good of a location for sourwood. I thought there was a chance here, but I thought I'd get more sumac. This is a surprise, a pleasant one, but a surprise. So I'm about halfway through this yard, and I'd say half of my hives have got supers of sourwood that I'll be able to pull. That is highly unusual. I'm only at 700 or 750 feet elevation here, and sourwood produces best between 1800 and 2200. So You know, that's up on the Cumberland Plateau in Tennessee, into the Smokies and the Appalachians. This is unusual. It's so unusual, I called Bob Benny about it, and he said he's never heard of a yard like this at this elevation doing this well on it. He asked me, are you sure it's sourwood? Well, yeah, I am. The color is consistent throughout. The flavor is just pure, absolutely pure. There's no sumac mixed in it. There's no Dutch white clover mixed in it, which is normal for what I get. I can usually taste a little bit of sourwood, and you know, at this time of year, but it's always mixed, and this is just pure. So I got some thinking to do. I'm gonna have to pull some honey out of here. I'm marking the hives that I can actually pull from. I think I'll try to keep this as a varietal. You know, they're drawing it off a foundation. There's no impurities in it whatsoever. I've been feeding this yard syrup, but they haven't had any in so long that they've drawn boxes of foundation on sourwood and filled them. I've never seen a flow of sourwood like that. That is a real blessing. Let me tell you, that's a real blessing. You know, it's amazing the difference that a flow makes. I was here almost 2 weeks ago. I think it was 12 days. And some of them were so small, I was boosting them. Fed them all. And now every lid I'm popping open is just packed with bees. They've drawn everything they can draw. That one hadn't drawn its top box, but I've added boxes to the top two. All these ones are gonna need boxes, every one of them. Well, bees just do better on a natural flow. You can get them to work on sugar syrup, but they sure do prefer a good flow. So it's hot and sweltering today. It's gonna be in the 90s all week. Humidity's really high because we had a dumping rain last night. And it's a nice day. Bees are on a flow, the bees are happy, that makes me happy too. It's amazing what a good nectar flow will do for everybody, especially my mental health and attitude. It's just amazing. Man, it's fun. It's just fun. It is really fun when it's like this. It's not a day of work, it's just going out and playing with the bees. So sourwood usually blooms for about 2 weeks. The flowers kind of look like fingers. They hang off the branches like that. And the bloom starts up at the top and then works its way down. They're little bell-shaped flowers. It usually blooms about 2 weeks, and I'd say it's been going 12 days. So this yard is very heavy. These are later nukes. This is my second to last round of nukes. And you can see a bunch of them are in 3 boxes now. I'm putting the thirds on today, and I'm feeding them. I think this flow is about to end, but I want to get as much drawn comb out of them as I can. That's what I look at as production for them. I don't intend to get honey out of them at all. So their production is going to be drawn comb. I'm getting heavy for winter, big and healthy and heavy for winter, with 3 boxes of drawn comb, hopefully. If I had known that we were going to get this kind of a flow, then I probably would have done things a little differently this year, but not super different, you know. Would have made Herculean efforts to get my honey harvested and then put drawn supers back on, just because sourwood's such a valuable crop. But it's a, you know, this is not even a 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 year thing for me. It's one of those that once in a blue moon, and it's hard to plan for. It's good though. It's great honey. It's even really nutritious for the bees. They overwinter great on it. So there's nothing bad about sourwood honey, except there's not enough of it. That's the only problem with it. There's not enough. Well, good and bad, I guess. Had a couple nukes that were just packed full. Had to put boxes on them. But the first 3 production colonies I got, these are single deeps I got from Bob Benny back in spring. None of them have filled up this top super. Got maybe 3 or 4 frames with honey on them. I've got an excluder underneath there. That might have something to do with it. Hopefully this gets better as I go down the line. This yard is not too far away from the yards where I've been seeing a heavy flow. So I was expecting to have it here too, but I'm not seeing it in honey supers. Well, that's a little better. Starting to get worried. Drawing all the way out to there. That's good. So I'm just leaving a production yard that is in a good sourwood area. It may not be as good as the 2 nuke yards that I've just come from. The nuke yards are doing really good. I'm actually making some pure sourwood honey in one of them that I was not anticipating. They've all gained weight, and the first yard I went to this morning, there are hives that have drawn out entire mediums that were foundation and filled them in 12 days. So I had really high hopes of this production yard, but the production yard has not performed up to what I was expecting. Most of these are triple medium or double deep size hives, and I think they're backfilling the brood nest. I think they didn't want to go up top and draw foundations. I think if I'd had drawn comb on top of them, they would have filled that up. But I think they backfilled the brood nest instead of putting it in top. That's the only thing that I can figure. There's only a few reasons that it could be different yard to yard. You know, I'm 5 miles away from the first yard I started at this morning. It's similar habitat, a lot of sourwood here. I'm a mile and a half away from the second yard, similar habitat. So I think the flow would have been similar. You know, the flow could be different yard to yard. At my house, which is only 3 miles away, takes 15 minutes to get there, but it's only 3 miles as the crow flies. We don't get sourwood over there. We just don't have the trees. We're a little higher elevation here. It's rockier and drier. We see chestnut oaks and things like that, and sourwood likes that type habitat. So I don't think it's a difference in the flow. I think it's a difference in how I've got the hives set up. Those nukes have got young queens, and they're constricted. They're wanting to grow. Most of them were in double mediums, and you put a box on top of them, and they want to draw it out and fill it. That's got me really considering just going to a double medium scheme across the board next year. You know, it's very similar to running single deeps. It's just a third bigger if you run a double medium than a single deep. I think they will overwinter probably a little bit better in a double medium than a single deep. They just got a little bit more room, you know, just a little bit more. So I think that's a good size. And if you let them grow up into 4 boxes and then shake them down into 2 and make sure the queen is blowing excluder, then I think they'd make a lot of honey. I think I would have made more honey right now than what I've got. This is a pretty good yard of bees here. They're making some honey. Had some swarm or try to swarm. I've split them up. I've got nukes in here mixed in with some production colonies. It's a lot easier to manage a yard if they're all the same. This one's doing really good. I've got 3 plugged out supers and a 4th that is almost full. It's probably got 5 or 6 frames that they're working on. And the only thing that we've got left is dwarf sumac or shining sumac. So I think I'm just gonna leave them the way they are. Pretty good yard. I'm happy with how they're performing this year. I gotta say, I think I like the My Bees, which have got a lot of Italian in them. I think I like those better than some of the Caucasian Carniolan strains. I like a hybrid for hybrid vigor, but I can look through the yard and all of the tall hives are either mine or some of Corey Stevens' stock. All of them. There's something to be said for that. In fact, I will actually go through before I do my honey pull, and I've got a green pin, red pin system. I just use like thumbtacks, push pins, and I'll go on the back of the hive, and since this hive has got 3 supers, I'll put 3 green pins over here. This one's got 3, I'll put 3 green pins. If I know that I pulled a split out of that hive, pulled 4 splits on 330, then I'll add some extras. Got 1 split on 4.7, 1 split on 330. So I'll try to record that. More green pins they've got, the more productive they are. And then I'll go through and start doing my oxalic acid and looking at the mite drops on bottom boards, and add red pins or green pins for that. This is why we don't stick our fingers places we can't see. The second one of those I found this year. I found one in the same bee yard last year. Just found another black widow under the lid on this hive. The last one was right there, so just 2 hives down. This is another plus for hives in full sun. I've never found one of those in a yard that had full sun. That's the 3rd one I found this year, and all of them have been in shady yards. I don't like black widows. I'm not super scared of spiders, but I don't like those. So this is a little resource yard I set up. It's going to be a mating yard as well. I'd like to have several more of these set up in this area. Probably enough for 200 nukes before next year. Right now I've just got 4 in here. These are all Troy Hall queens. And I made these up real small and introduced the queens, I think, on the 12th. And they are quite small. At least 4 of them have accepted their queens. And you might have saw the hive beetles scattering in here. That's the problem with real small nukes this time of year. So we're trying to help that situation. Got Parker here with me. I went through a production yard yesterday that I'd done a lazy shakedown, I guess is what I would call it. I just stuck a queen excluder under the honey supers and closed them up. And the queen was actually above the excluder, so she had some brood in the honey supers. And I found her and moved her down yesterday, and I'm waiting on that to age out. And I went to check these young nukes here this morning. Saw they were weak, and then remembered I've got these brood frames in the honey supers in that big hive, and I know the queen's not in them. So we went back to that yard and picked a few brood frames. Now we're boosting these little nukes up, trying to get them to critical mass. If we can get them up to 4 or 5 frame strength, they'll be able to handle the hive beetles a whole lot better.